What about that?
Finish out.
I'll now call the regular city council meeting for Monday, January 17th, 2022 to order at 6:00 p.m. We would like you to join us in our opening ceremony. The invocation will be led by Pastor James Clark of First Baptist Church, and the pledges of the U.S. and Texas flags will be led by Pact 72. Please rise. He's coming. He's running. Want to make an entrance?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. I didn't realize one meeting had stopped and one had started, so I was in the outside meeting waiting. Let's take a moment to pray together, and let me just welcome the scouts, and we'll include them in the prayer tonight as well. Father, thank you for so many great things that are a part of Tomball. Thank you for the founding of this great city and all that you have done over the century to bring us to this place today, entering into this century, entering into this time in which you've given us responsibility to govern, to lead, to serve, to live, and to be the people that make this a great place to be a part of. Thank you for the people throughout the years that have brought us to this place. And we pray for even tonight, Warren Driver, former city manager, and the struggles he's having medically this evening. Be with Rebecca and Mike and the rest of the family and care for them and watch for them as he possibly makes that final transition into eternity. Let it be smooth and let it be filled with your hope and with your comfort and the joy of your presence. Only in you can we face the end of time and then recognize that it's actually something we're looking forward to and something we have anticipated. We've sung songs about, and we've read scriptures about, and we've listened to testimony about. Your love, your faithfulness is always there and always worth looking forward to. Thank you for those who are currently in leadership. Thank you for those who make up the government of our city. Watch over them, care for them, give them wisdom tonight as they transact business. Watch over them at all times when they are about the business of the city and when they're with their families and they're relaxing and enjoying the very same things we love about being in Tomball. Even in the infrastructure of our city and in the population of our city. We're thankful even for scouts tonight, earning badges that help them understand the working and the making of government, and pray that even tonight you would lay on one of these young boys or one of these young girls' hearts the need for future leaders in the next generation to lead all of us, our businesses, our schools, our churches, and of course, our city. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll help you.
There we go.
We'll do it all together.
Right?
Right?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Thank you all very much. And so our first item on the agenda will be public comments. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council action or discussion may take place on any matter until it's been posted in accordance with the law. Doris, did anyone sign up to speak?
I have no one signed up to speak.
All right, there's no one signed up to speak, but is there anyone who wishes to speak that did not sign up? All right, seeing none, we will move into presentations. And we have the 2021 Employees of the Year. Who would like to tell us about this?
Mayor and Council, I'm very proud to announce and recognize the two Employees of the Year that were chosen by their peers. Carlos Vera, he is our municipal court clerk, or one of them. Carlos he had multiple nominations from his peers, and when you read them, they all talk about how much he's just stepped in and stepped up when times when the municipal court really needed it the most. During a lot of vacancies and because of the pandemic and things, people being out, Carlos was called upon to step up and step in, and he did that. But I think the thing that really stood out to all of the employees in the way he did that, the people that come to municipal court aren't always all that happy. They're having to deal with things that they have. And so to be able to deal with them and give them the respect and the courtesy and that they need, Carlos continues to do that even while having to fill all the responsibilities he had inside. Internally too, when we're dealing with other employees, he's always happy. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always just a pleasure to be around. And that, I think, that is the reasons why he was chosen or nominated to be Employee of the Year. As you can imagine, to just pick one is very difficult. And so when we look at all of them in the case, another one stood out quite a bit, and that's Lexi McMinn. She's our Senior Admin Assistant for Public Works. I can tell you, I'm very, very proud of Lexi. I did hire Lexi as a summer intern, and she started with us and did that for a while, then started as a part-time employee while she was in school, and then got hired on full-time. And because of the acceptance of responsibilities and how well she does her job, she got promoted to be a Senior Administrative Assistant. She does all of this. And if you read all of the comment cards from all of the different Public Works employees that submitted a nomination for, they all say the same thing, that they can count on Lexi. She knows her stuff. She's always on top of things. She's always answering their stupid questions, was one of them. And so I am extremely proud of her because I know how much she's worked hard for this. I know how much she puts into it. She's going back to school. She's got an associate's degree. Now she's working on her accounting degree. And it's just a great story on both of these employees. So with that, I present to you the two Employees of the Year for the city of Tomball.
Congratulations. Thank you for everything you do. Command for everything you do. I want to grab a picture. All right, anything y'all want to say?
Yeah, I think everybody, it's easy to be employed of the year when you like what you do and you like the people you work with. And this is a great city to work for. I'm going to be honest with you, I work for other municipalities and counties. I really enjoy working here. And I want to speak to everybody in the court. Love what we do and just like to come here.
Congratulations, guys. All right, reports and announcements. We have announcements on January 19th is the first day to apply for a place on the ballot for the May 7th election. February 18th is the last day to apply. March 19th is the Honky Tonk Chili Challenge Festival at the Depot from 11 to 6. And then by reports by city staff. Doris, do you want to tell us about this award?
Yes, the city secretary's office has received the 5-star exemplary award from the Texas Department of Vital Statistics for the 11th year. Each year, the Department of Vital Statistics makes it harder. And each year we meet the challenge. I say we, but I have a staff that meets the challenge. So I would like Sasha Luna, Janita Robinson, and Tracy to please come up to the front. Last year, it was 98% of registration of death and birth certificates within 24 hours of receipt. This year, to get the exemplary reward, it was 100% registration within 24 hours.
Holy cow. Gonna go to 110% next year.
Right.
You're supposed to guess what's coming.
Great job. We want to know when they're born before they're born.
Yeah, somebody just went into labor. Let's get it ready.
Let's get it ready.
That's amazing.
The stork calls them on the way.
That's right. They've got it in the-
Mhm. All right, and with that, I will move to approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting.
Motion.
Any questions? I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Our next item is the old business consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, the item in question will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately.
We have-
Information concerning consent agenda is available for public review. And Jessica, would you tell us about the two items on
We have
consent?
no consent
There is
items.
no, sorry.
Jessica, would you tell me about the things that aren't on consent? That it was on consent?
Sorry.
Would you like to tell us about the first thing that's not on new business consent? I mean, old business.
Yes, ma'am. So items 1 and 2 are continuations of our discussion related to the American Rescue Plan Act funding. So item 1 under old business is just opening up the discussion. I know we had some council members that weren't with us last time, so we wanted to just bring this back and continue that discussion. Just as a reminder, under the American Rescue Plan, there's about 4 general categories to use funds. I'm not going to pull up the presentation and go through it again, but just as a reminder, generally it can be used to respond to the pandemic in support of households, businesses, nonprofits, and impacted industries was one category. Another was premium pay for essential workers. The third category was the provision of government services as it relates to your lost revenue. And the last category was to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Excuse me, that's a mouthful. So at this time, staff's recommendations really are the same as we presented last time. We did, in between the last council meeting and this council meeting, have the final rule released by the Treasury Department. So we were able to make some adjustments within our recommendations and make sure we had them in alignment with the right categories of funds. That's what that lovely thick notebook is that Stan is sitting on my desk, is the final rule. It was quite a fun read. But with that, staff is still recommending $100,000 in grants to nonprofits, just about $550,000 that's in the provision of government services for the replacement of marketing revenue, $527,000 for the provision of government services related to park improvements, and then the large expenditure that is related to item 2, which is the improvements to the infrastructure, water meter software, and other necessary components at about 1.7 million. And with that, I know we have Adam here to answer any questions if there are specific questions related to the meter and infrastructure, as well as David and I, but we wanted to open it up and have council discussion. So I'll stop talking.
All right. Is there any discussion? Questions?
What was item 3 on
On the
the things that could be used for? I didn't quite understand that.
So the third category is for the provision of government services in an amount that's related to the lost revenue by the government. So there was actually a calculation developed and provided by the Treasury final rule that allowed us to calculate lost revenue. We went through that calculation. As it turned out, our entire block of funds was less than what our identified lost revenue is. So we took the approach of looking specifically at our hot funds. And so the number that we came up with ties back to our lost revenue that we calculated specific to our marketing revenues.
From the hot.
Yes, from hot taxes.
And
Yes,
what
sir.
was that number?
For FY 20, the lost revenue was $342,268. And then for FY 21, it was $182,485.
Yes, sir.
I know during the last time we discussed this, we discussed the water meters. Where I
Yes, sir.
think Beth had made the comment that projection wise for the next year was about 1,300 water meters. that
Yes, sir.
We needed. And part of these funds were going to be to purchase those, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
No, so the expenditure
correct.
that council approved last time was for those 1,300, those new construction related meters.
Mhm.
The 1.7 million will go to the replacement of existing meters.
Existing meters.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because what my concern is with supply chain issues that we currently have in our country is, I know we're experiencing it in our industry. If I place an order today with one supplier, they're giving us 2023 ship dates. So we're out over a year. A lot of manufacturers are like that. My concern is if we don't place the orders for meters that are currently needing to be replaced or we're currently having issues with. I think Beth mentioned there's like, how many, 1,100 did she say? That they're
So
having to manually read?
I don't have the number. I can find it. Let me dig through my papers, but it is about
equates to
25%.
25% of our meters.
Of our
are-
current
The
meters.
1100's number
Yeah,
is stuck in my head.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a lot of meters that are currently to the point where they're having to be manually read. They're eventually going to fail. And what my concern is that we're not going to have meters to be able to replace those. And then how do we tell a resident that we don't have a meter to replace their broken meter?
They're still gonna. Didn't you ask, Mark, didn't you ask what we had currently in stock as far as the meters go? If I believe I remember that question being asked.
I did. And David, do you want to
Yes, sir.
respond?
And I think you were gonna make the point. Councilman Diggs.
The meters still work. We're talking about, we're gonna have to put manpower to go read it.
That's for now, but what Beth, if I'm not mistaken, was saying that they will eventually stop working. Is that correct?
If we have meters that stop registering, those are, but the failures, the majority of the failures we're having are the transmitters. So there's two pieces
Right.
to this. You'll have the meter, and then that feeds the transmitter, and the transmitter sends it to our handheld unit.
Mhm.
And so what we're seeing the failures is in the transmitter. And so that we can't read it through the handheld, that we have to go actually read it off the meter. So that's the 25% that we're at now, is that we're having to physically go to each meter box. If it's underwater, we got to pump it out. If they get covered with dirt, obviously after cover it once, hopefully it doesn't do it, but that's where the time is taken up, is doing that. And we have a short window to be able to stay consistent with getting bills to everybody on the same month that we have to read them. And so that's where really it starts growing quite a bit. If we have more transmitters fail, we are keeping and not scrapping the old meters, the ones that did get pulled out from the pilot study, and keep those, because those do work. They just don't have transmitters. And so the fear of having to be able to not read, we have replacements, but it's going to be, let's get some of this old ones and put them back in service, but they'll be manually read then. And so now we would be adding some of those into the new construction side than just existing. So that's how it really can start.
Just to be clear, what Beth, when we talk about the failures, we're talking about transmitters. We're not gonna have people without water and gas. We're gonna have people driving around like we used to get a read.
My question is this: if we go ahead and approve this and we place the order and Councilman Stoll, as you say, the 2023 deliveries is the price that we quote and contractually get into for the meters that we're talking about having to replace, the $1.7 million worth. Is that still going to be a good number when they deliver? That's my fear.
Yes, so we would lock it in when we made the purchase order.
Do we know what the lead time is?
Currently, the estimate to get meters is between 40 to 52 weeks. And with these particular meters, because we would be replacing 4,700, there would be additional time that it would take to actually replace the 4,700 meters and transmitters.
Are these made in the US?
They are. I can check on that.
I think we need to start really looking at doing everything we can made in the US, period. We need to support our country.
I will tell you, you know, lessons learned from other, when we switch to a major system like this in our meters, and the example from the police department about the body cams and going with the lesser known or smaller, Census is a top player in fixed-based metering systems. They do both gas and water. So that's the criteria that, among other things, of being able to service and things like that. But that's because of that fear of, if we get into a new system and then all of a sudden they go defunct and we are looking for another supplier.
Let's off our ticket writing system.
So did we have any of this budgeted just as
Yes, sir.
it was part of the regular budget?
We budget every year for it because it's such a big transition across. So we did a capital project and there was about $500,000 in that sitting to do the
New meters
conversion.
was $250,000 that we had budgeted in this fiscal year.
This fiscal year.
And there
then
was
we
some
had-
remaining
we
from
had-
previous fiscal years as we've been working incrementally for
Was
this
that going to
conversion.
be ample?
No, it was gonna take a multi-year phase in order to get it all converted
Okay.
over. And if you look at the graph, one of the graphs that showed, you know, the failure rates, this is when we started that pilot study to start looking at our system, what do we need to go to? And we started building those phases and projecting out what it would take. You can see these last 2 years, we got really hit hard with the failures on the transmitters.
Okay, but because this is one of the things that this rescue plan money can go towards, that was the idea that how we came to this is maybe go ahead and using that to purchase it so we don't have to use some of our capital funds. Is that?
Yes, sir. So,
Okay.
so one of the things that the ARP funds will not fund would be on the gas side. So the thought is, we could leverage our current capital money that we had budgeted for the system wide, focus all of that towards gas, use the ARP funds to take care of the water side, and then would be done with those, because these are focused on existing meters that are in the ground. All of the new construction, the tap fees and those meter fees that new construction would have to pay would go to cover those meters. These would have to be paid out of the bottom line or the enterprise fund.
Can anybody tell me about how long these water meters are expected to last?
Yes.
What's the life cycle?
So we actually contacted our vendor, Adam Alsmeros, the Public Works Director. We actually contacted the vendor about this, and so they have a 10-year warranty, and most of these are about the 14, 15, 16-year warranty period. So when we contacted our vendor, they said they far outlived the expected warranty of that. Newer meters typically have a 20-year warranty, and so these would be the ones that we're purchasing. And you know, one of the things that Beth also mentioned was pretty much the importance of the water meters, the cash register for the enterprise fund, and so the functionality of it, to be able to pick up those meter reads right away when our staff is having to get those independently. There's another public works set of individuals that are performing that task, and they could be mowing or doing sewer checks and things of that nature. And so
The reason for my question is the life expectancy is, I think in the future budgets, we need to go ahead and start putting money aside so that we don't find ourselves 20 years from now with whoever council may be having to replace those meters and not have funds available. So I think we need to start some kind of an account that lets us put funds into that every year budget wise. for the replacement of meters in the future. I just think that's wise upfront.
This rescue plan money, what's 2.7?
2.9
2.9.
total.
So we're talking about spending how much of that on this?
1.7 million of the 2.9 million would be spent on the meter replacement program.
And the other, what, do we have an idea what we're gonna do with the?
Yes, Tracy, you mind? I'm gonna have Tracy pull up the slide. It's a lot of numbers and it might be easier to just see it visually. Yeah, there you go. So if everyone have the glasses, can see that. So the first would be the $100,000 for the grants to nonprofits. And then in the second category, which is the provision of
What's that?
the grants to nonprofits.
Yeah.
So under that, we talked about setting aside a certain amount of money for what would be 501c3 or C19 organizations that are eligible under the rule to receive grants. So it would be up to the city to decide if we wanted an application program and what that criteria would be. And there's also within the Treasury's rule some very specific eligible uses that we could grant that money to nonprofits.
And for example, who are these organizations?
So example of a 501c3 would be TEAM.
Okay.
And so those charitable organization nonprofits.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'm just trying to get up. to
Yep,
speed.
yes, sir. And then the second category is that provision of government services to the extent of reduction in revenue. The rule provided a very specific calculation. As I said, we went through that. Our loss in revenue was higher than our total 2.9 million that we were getting. So we went through and said, well, where did we actually experience that loss in revenue here in Tomball? Where did we see it? And where we saw it the most severe, of course, was in that marketing and tourism budget, certainly with that loss of hot funds. So we had so Catherine went through the process and calculated using the formula, what was our loss specific to hot funds. And so that's what you see in FY20 and FY21, the 342,000 and the 182,000, those two numbers. The improvements to the depot area, we can, under that reduction in revenue category, make expenditures for improvements in infrastructure as well. Really a broad category that we could use those funds for any general government service. And again, Treasury defines what that is, but in our case, it's most things that the city does. And then the last category is that investment in infrastructure.
So this, where it gets to my little hot project is that, you know, the Tomball Depot area, in talking with the folks with the farmers market, as well as German Fest, you know, both are kind of maxed out in terms of space. And, you know, we have that area down past the depot where the museum was going to go. And, you know, I would like to see, I don't know, did we earmark or did we talk about what specifically these improvements would be to the depot?
No, sir. No, this was just a division. The only hard numbers is the replacement of lost revenue for the hot funds, because that's a calculation. And then the meter project. The rest is whatever was left.
Because I shared with many of you pictures that I brought back from New Braunfels where they do their farmers market, and they've built some hard covers in their farmers market parking lot. And during the week, it serves as kind of a sunshade for people that park there. But then it's kind of an automatic booth with cover to provide, because now we just have those pop-up tents all over the place. And this gives some permanence to that. And you could also extend that possibly down into that area past the depot and extend the farmer's market down in there. And the farmer's market folks thought that was a wonderful idea. And then because they have a waiting list that is quite lengthy. And then for the German Fest, kind of same thing is that we've got I don't know what the line is in terms of getting on and getting space, but, you know, talking with many of them is, we're kind of landlocked at this point to grow the thing. And talk about an e-commerce boost is getting the German Fest and the farmers market, which many people come to. Just seemed to me that would be a good way to put that money in for improving commerce.
I'm afraid of $500,000 just to put down for
It may
surface.
be
Hold
a
on, hold on.
drop in a bucket.
Just for resurfacing the area you're talking about on the outside of the depot.
Yeah,
But if you think about our German Fest, and it just raised the, in my brain is, we've got a carnival that comes in here and uses that area.
yeah.
Those permanent type awnings you're talking about would probably be counterproductive to that.
Yeah, we'd have to kind of dissect that, and discuss
That's what
that.
my thought was.
Because those awnings are kind of around the perimeter and they were in New Braunfels. And so we'd have to look at that, see what kind of design would be.
And I want you to know, I did not talk with Councilman Ford beforehand when I brought up using part of the money to help that area he's talking about. But I agree that even if we couldn't put permanent structure, we at least need to make the dirt there, being able to park out, fix the drainage on it. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done before we can put any structures
Yeah.
on it. And I'd like to see part of this, as I mentioned last time, to be used for that, to get it ready to be used. And thank you very much for bringing that up. I know y'all missed the last meeting and I did not talk with them.
You did too. Call us.
I did. People are gonna believe that.
That's my 2 cents.
Good. You know, I talked to David today, and this is really directed at council, not staff or any, it's really for us, but I expressed some frustration because I just finished my 8th year on city council, and you know, we need some big, hard projects done. And I think in probably at least 2018, 2019, 2020, I said, let's go borrow money. We can borrow it at 1.6, we can issue a bond, let's get this stuff done. And it's not getting any cheaper. I know I said that. When you borrow at 1.6, you're, you know, there should be nothing holding you back, but we haven't done that. You know, I mean, we've had projects and no money, and this money is money. We got the money and now we're finding projects for it, is the way it looks like to me. $3 million should be budgeted. It should go in our budget. We have till what, 2026 to spend it?
To spend it.
We don't have to spend it right now. And so staff brought us, how do we spend it now? That's what we asked. You know, that's what people want to know. And I just feel like, you know, if we didn't have this money, we would figure out how to do these meters. Nobody's getting their water turned off. And it may be a great idea to order these. I'm not gonna, I don't really hard have an opinion hard one way or the other, but we have $3 million and we're like here, here, and here, and we just go on to next week. I'm like, let's put the 3 million in our budget coming up and let's prioritize and let's put some projects and pour some concrete and do some hard stuff. I mean, this is an easy order. 1.7, cut a PO, look what we did. But where's our alleyways? Where's our concrete? Where's our parking problem? Why isn't that solved? You know, and it's year after year, and a lot of that doesn't get done because it's hard. And I would like to see some hard projects get done. And so I'm not in favor of just allotting this money. I mean, $3 million, that should be in our budget workshop and should be spent over several years and prioritized. That's the way I feel about it.
Well, we also have restrictions. I know we have 26 to spend it, but the purpose of this was to help with, some of this is because of COVID. Well, it is because of the ARP. And so all the businesses and the hotel motel tax, I mean, those things in passing the law were specifically mentioned. So we can, and I know that hopefully in our budget workshops, we'll be talking about a large bond issue in the future to cover not only things like this, but infrastructure. We've had tremendous growth. And I think we need to address 10, 20 years from now, the infrastructure that needs to be in place for good water, good sewer, good roads. And so I'm sure that that will be something that we will be addressing in the future in a major bond issue, since we have such a good rating and we can borrow at low amounts. So.
I think everybody needs to realize, though, that every time you talk about passing a bond issue or trying to get a bond issue done, you're talking about raising people's taxes. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm about taxed out. Period. My school taxes are astronomical. I know that's not the city's problem, but that is a problem. And when you start passing bonds, when you can cash fund something and get it taken care of today and not put yourself into debt for the future, or your kids in debt, or your grandkids in debt, I think that's a wiser, more better stewardship of money. My daddy always told me, don't go into debt unless you absolutely have to. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I personally agree, but what we're about to spend is going to be a lot more expensive because we didn't do it in 2018. I mean, costs have gone through the roof. We kind of missed the window on some of this stuff. And that's not going to change. You know,
No, the Fed just raised is going to raise the interest rates today or tomorrow, I think what they just said.
I know, we've got, and it's still very low. And I'm glad to hear you say that, Councilman Townsend, because the other thing I mentioned to David on my phone call today, we're seeing record, sales tax. That's inflation. That's not, so when we see inflation, the beneficiaries of inflation are government entities. They're not individuals and they're not businesses. Coffers are filling up at government entities, ours included. This is what you're seeing. This is not organic growth numbers. I'm sure some of it is. And so, and I even suggested we ought to be giving some of that back and lower tax rates moving forward. I mean, I know we're all excited about all this money coming in, but I can tell you for one, I'm going to be like, time to lower property taxes if it's inflation generated, not new services, not new people. And that is what it is. So we've got big decisions to make. And this is a lot of money, $3 million on the budget. Big number.
Well, we also we have a half cent of every sales tax goes to keep our property taxes low. And so that is coming in, but these projects, to say we don't want to do any of these projects is, to me, kicking the can down the road of things we need to get done. And we can cash fund some of these projects without having to put away a reserve for 5 years and then order new meters every year, pushing the date out over 5 years, which is what the budget was last time. This was a project that we had already, and $250,000 a year is being put aside in the budget to fix our water meter problem. We have a chance to cash fund it without doing it in a bond, without having to put that in the budget. So it is taking a problem we budgeted for and cash funding it at today's prices, with the order out being a year, 52 weeks to get them. And I'd rather do it, and think it would be better to do it now at today's prices than over the next 4 years on supply chain. So that's how I look at it. It is a project. It's been talked about in the budget. We got the ARP funds. We can use it for that, and we can mark that off our list instead of having to put $250,000 a year for 5 years. And by then there'll be a whole bunch more that are.
Exactly.
So that's what I feel about using it now.
David, do we have a capital workshop coming up anytime soon?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And talking to staff, we have broken it up into the way we envision it starting as soon as we can. They're going to be special workshops because they're going to take some time to get through, but one will be just focusing on public safety, one for public works and all of the infrastructure stuff that we have. And then the other one is going to be for all the support services.
When?
So we're envisioning it probably starting in February.
Well, I kind of agree with Councilman Deggs is let's push that in, let's push this into that meeting so we can really go through and determine where the needs are. And if we find that we can go ahead and fund some of these now in relationship to those other big projects that we know we need to do, I think we'll have a better comprehensive picture of that instead of.
How
just-
long is this quotation good for the $1.7 million?
30 days.
30 days. If we can't do something within 30 days, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, gentlemen and ladies. Because you may be looking at that point in time, 1.9.
When
And
is
now
that?
you've just taken something out of another project that you want to get done because you didn't want to have something done now that we know has to be done. It has to be done.
When does that 30-day, when did that 30 days start?
That, we asked for that quote just before the January 3rd city council meeting. So it's probably good for January, and then we'd want to check with our vendor again.
February 3rd.
And Mark's already said in his business, things are getting out a year, Mark, is that what you said?
If we place orders today, we're given 2023 shipping dates.
2023
Now,
shipping.
what's different about our industry is we don't even know what the cost of the material will be until the date it ships. So we're estimating jobs and just basically crossing our fingers. We're signing contracts and we don't even know.
Holy smokes.
And
No, I
this
don't
is-
want our city around that far.
This is 40 to 52 weeks if we order now.
Yes, ma'am, that's what our vendor told us. It would be 40 to 50 weeks before the
So if we
meters would be
waited a year
delivered.
From now to order some more, it'll be another 40 to 52 weeks at a higher price.
I mean, basically what's going on in our industry, and I feel as though it's going on in every industry, is what we refer to as toilet paper buys.
Mhm.
Everybody's ordering whatever they can right now to get it, especially Texas, this area here where we have a lot of growth going on and a lot of people moving here. They're ordering as much as they can because they know the growth is coming. And if you don't get your orders in, you're going to be stuck holding the bag.
I think I said this once before, it's better to be in front of the wave, out in front of the wave, rather than being riding the wave where it crashes down upon you. I said that about our police department not too terribly long ago, about hiring people. We're growing. Guys, let's not put this off. Hey, I agree with you, Councilman Diggs. I agree, but financing stuff right now, with the government that we have right now, guys, that's not wise in my humble opinion.
What'd you say that was, toilet paper buying?
We call them toilet paper buys.
Or the fear of-
I understand.
Okay, I understand, I get it now. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow.
So
All right. So what do you need from us? Now that we've talked all around this?
So, and again, this item here was discussion from last time, so we can discuss further about the different categories. The second item, we did bring an action item to approve the water meter purchases for the 1.766 million.
Tracy, can you put that one back up, please? The numbers, please. Just go ahead, David. I'm sorry, didn't interrupt you. but-
No, it's fine. So the discussion on all of the funds and where it needs to go and prioritizing that, absolutely, there's no, those are not tied to anything. It is my recommendation that we do approve the 1.766.
And that's item number 3 of the new business.
Correct, and that,
Yeah, the resolution, which is item 2 under
Yes.
old business,
yes,
the only approved it's designating the meters as a project under the ARP funds, and then city attorney's correct, the actual
Right,
purchase
the
is
actual-
under your new
so
business.
item number 2 is a resolution directing staff where to allocate those funds. And so that's a resolution that would allocate only the amount for the meters, and then the actual authorization to purchase is in the new business.
So for my knowledge, if we vote in favor of number 3 on new business, we need to approve number 2 on old business.
Yes, correct.
Can I ask, the 1.7 is that just material cost or what do we have installation? That's our guys
That's-
installing?
No, sir, that 1.7 is turnkey
And they do
installation.
the- Is this contract?
The contractor will install.
Have we used them before? Do we know who they are?
I don't have all the details as far as if we've used them before. I know that other jurisdictions, just coming from Deer Park, that's where Deer Park is planning to use their ARPA funds is for the equivalent of meter purchases and installation for an entire turnkey
And
solution.
I know we're changing vendors. Is it Census? or- And so,
Yes.
I mean, did we get competitive bids? What is that? What did that 1.7 from an install and equipment standpoint? Where did that number come from? What was our alternative, if any?
There was alternative ones, and so this one is based on a government contract. So that's bid statewide for different entities to be able to use. So there's not a local or more local competitive bid that we had to go through the process. We use that, utilize that contracted pricing.
So, okay, so we didn't get competitive bids, but we are using like a bid buy type
Correct.
scenario.
Correct.
It's like a buy board.
By
By
board
board or whatever. it is.
HGAC or whatever. And I agree, maybe we just keep the rest of the money until we have our workshop guys, but let's go ahead and get this done. I mean, it's gonna bite us in the backside if we don't.
They'll have me out there cleaning out the meter things, right?
I believe meter reading starts at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, sir, if you
I'll
would
be
like to
there.
join.
I'll be there. Could you pick up some coffee on the way?
Donuts too.
Donuts.
Jessica just volunteered. to pick
Yes.
you up.
Jessica's picking you up.
I'm in.
All right, so one is just discussion. So are we ready to move to the next action item? The resolution. All right. I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2022-03, a resolution of the city council of the city of Tomball, Texas, authorizing the city manager to act for the city in connection with the city's receipt and expenditure of grants from the American Rescue Plan and the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund and making other provisions related to the subject.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, and with that, we will move to new business. Garg,
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to request city support and in-kind services for the Little League Opening Day Parade in downtown Tomball on Saturday, March 5th this year. Thank you.
all right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request from the Tomball Little League program for city service and in-kind services through the Little League's annual opening day, Saturday, March 5th, 2022.
And this is to approve the resolution for support.
Second.
All right, questions?
Does that start at 9 o'clock?
Registration starts at 6:30 and the parade starts at 8:30. Sorry, sorry, it's a race, yes. Registration starts at 6:30 and the parade starts at 8. And there are two, the walk, there is one is the. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
parade.
8 o'clock, yeah. Thank you.
All right, anything else? I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the next item. Update report of the strategic plan.
Mayor and Council, Jeff Burt, Chief of Police for Tomball. I just wanted to update you all as we're trying to do about every 6 months on your strategic plan. And just as we provided in your pamphlet, the copy of the strategic plan. I know it's several pages, but I can just give you some wave tops if you like. There's 4 strategic initiatives that you approved in 2020, 79 action strategies within those 4 initiatives. And then our results, 87% of those action strategies are either completed or ongoing and moving toward completion. And about 13% have not been implemented or are not yet in progress. The 4 strategic initiatives is, as well, is a livable city, a connected city, an effective city, and a strong city. Under livable city, just a couple of the wave top, I think some great stuff that the city's been able to do. Our design for alleys, although we haven't started on the alley beautification, the design is about 95% complete. 4 corners, as you had requested, has been enhanced. The mural, that we talked about for a long time is now completed on the information center. Looks great. Construction of drainage improvements along Persimmon is completed. The fund that you all budgeted funds for the gas meter plan. And then most recently you approved, and it's been installed, a communication system for public safety. And we just as well bought new body cameras. And then when it comes to enhancements to public safety, Joe Sikora was able to hire a deputy fire marshal and realign his department for greater operational oversight with 3 new battalion chiefs. So really, really proud of that. Under connected city, I point out again, a medical complex Persimmon construction is completed. The city has completed 6 in terms of creating youth intern opportunities. We've had 6 successful internships this year through 5 different departments, and we're actually looking at hiring another winter intern at the police department. And then if you look at our social media, because one of the things that the city had asked was enhance and improve messaging to the community. Our Instagram, Facebook, our followers have grown by 12.4% in the last year, which is, I think, a good solid growth. 54,000 people are now following us on Facebook. So when it comes to an effective city, improving customer service and improving processes, you heard about Doris Spear and a very capable staff tonight getting a 5-star rating, but many departments are using Muni Code 10 better to allow public to view council minutes, agenda, and meetings. In just FOIA, out of the city secretary's office, we had 700 requests for the Freedom of Information Act this year, which is an increase, and just the ability they've done to streamline it has been great. We've completed a gas and water meter pilot study. One more, sorry. Our rate studies have been completed and new sewer rates have commenced, as you know. So a lot of good stuff on that. A strong city. The highlights of that, we've had continued investments in the business park, ongoing commitment to hotel and tourism industry. I think a good partnership with the TEDC and seeking out opportunities to encourage young families to move to Tomball. And in those, we're still on a monthly basis. The city manager, the police department, they still meet with hotels monthly to strategize on getting heads in beds with hotel reports, reporting they're nearly back at full capacity on the weekends. So we think that's great news, because as we were talking about hot tax, and then the corporate is projected to pick up on weekdays, although it really hasn't started as solid as we'd hoped. And then Matheson Park quotes. I know we're all looking forward to those updates. The quotes for equipment are being finalized. And then Broussard Park, wildflowers have been planted, and Dynamo Dash is working on lighting. So, and then finally, we're working on the continued implementation of a park master plan for Tice Park. So I think a lot of really good stuff. And it's not lost to me. It's Martin Luther King Day today. And end with a quote from him that no work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. So I think Tomball is a city that thrives amidst a pandemic, through the single costliest disaster in Texas history, and in spite, I think, of an uncertain world economy. I think we thrive because collectively we strive for painstaking excellence. Standing in front of you tonight, I recognize that Council's 2020, the last 2 years strategic plan has been a bold promise to all those who call Tomball home. It's been a promise that we will soldier on through tough times together. We will address the needs of an expanding community, and we will cherish and preserve that which reminds us a growing city, its small town roots, its parks, its old town and its festivals. And as grateful as I am, and we all are, for a city government with the wisdom to develop a meaningful strategic plan, I'm just as proud of the men and women working for the city of Tomball who strive daily to build a livable, connected, effective, and strong home. So with that, I'd like to call up Ms. Jessica Rogers to remark on next steps.
Of course, Chief makes it really hard to follow. But I just wanted to say and just reiterate, obviously, Chief Burt served as the interim ACM, which is why he's giving you the update. And honestly, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. He did a terrific job in keeping projects going. And so I'm incredibly grateful to him and to the entire staff for helping me and giving me time to get up to speed on everything that's going on. But looking forward, I think City Manager already spilled what I was going to share with you, and that we are working towards bringing some workshops to the City Council to start looking at our next 2-year window on strategic plan. Our focus is going to be on those critical needs, those things that we're seeing tremendous growth in the city, but also tremendous potential and the opportunity to really identify what those big projects are, what that big vision is for City Council. And we're excited to be a part of that and help this council kind of work through what's new and next here for the city of Tomball. So with that, I'm going to stop. And if you guys have any questions, I'll call Jeff back up.
I do have just one question. What is going on at Broussard Park? There's a lot of heavy equipment out there. Is that affecting its operation daily? What's going on?
Yes, what's going out there at Broussard Park, Magellan Pipeline has a pipeline that's very, very deep. And so that has issues from the get-go, apparently, when they installed it. They're in an emergency repairs right now. And so they're going to dig up a lot of our park, and they're going to do a bore underneath the driveway and all those things. We've working with them on, they're going to restore everything back to what needs to be, and they've committed to it. And so
we need to close the park for our citizenry.
Because, and while that's why we asked that it not be open cut all the way across. And so we'll watch it and see. It should all be, all of any open trenching will be fenced and stuff like that. So we can continue on the big field.
Anything else? All right, then we will move on to item 3. Jessica, you really need to tell us about it?
No, ma'am. Item 3 is just simply the approval of the purchase of the meters.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the expenditure of $1.766, $203,021.20 to Aquametric for the replacement of water system meters and transmitters.
Excuse me, can I ask a question about this? This is David DiCanello.
Someone ask a question? Okay. And who is this?
Oh, hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please identify and go ahead with your question.
Sure. Dave DiCanello, I live in 31215 Oak Road, Tomball. I just had a question. The Public Works sent me a notice of the meeting because I've had some discussions with them lately. And I had a suggestion to improve the software of your water meter system. And so they kind of invited me to bring that up. So back in October, I was out of the state and the water valve on my toilet broke. And for 3 weeks, I was pumping about 900 gallons a day instead of about 1,000 gallons a month. And I had discussions with the Public Works Department, and with the meters that we have, they could track my consumption, and in a short amount of time, like a couple of minutes, they sent me a graph. But what we don't do right now is if somebody has a break or something, we don't notify the resident that you're using an excessive amount of water. So my suggestion was, if we're improving the system, could we update the software so that if somebody has a leak or a break, we can notify the resident immediately so corrective action can be taken, and we won't waste water, and then we won't have excessive usage fees or So that was my suggestion. So, so the bottom line is, could we add this to the software improvements that you're planning for this project?
Thank you, Mr. DiCamillo. And so.
You're welcome.
So to kind of expand, I believe I understand exactly what you're talking about. So you had a leak at your house, and when it was found, we were able to pull the profile off the meter. And then the meter showed that the consumption shot up and stayed, which was consistent with the leak. The point that I think Mr. DiCamillo is making is that if we have the software, or if we had the capabilities and actually monitored it and send out the alerts to our residents, then they'll be able to find those water leaks at a more timely manner. And so they can avoid, and they can repair it and avoid a lot of the lost waters and things like that.
That's correct.
Is that possible?
It is possible. And that's one of the reasons why we went or wanted to go towards a fixed base system, because then you can actually take reads on a very consistent basis without having to go. You can set up the triggers on your system, and once everybody's on that, and when it's out of character for that meter to be running, then it sends an alert to users. And so that is the ultimate goal, is to get to that point. It's no different than your smart meters in your electrical service, that they can send you text updates and things like that. That's where we want to get to. We don't have that capability by just going once a month to read it in that window. Fixed base, we can set it up on a schedule and it be reading on a constant basis and sending out reports and things like that.
Cool.
But this 1.7 is not going to get us there.
This 1.7 will get us there.
Get it, okay.
Because it's the fixed base, it's converting all our meters. 97% of them will be done, except for the big ones, but those, so that will get us. that
And
much
includes
closer.
the software.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just make sure I'm not in 3%, please.
All right. So with that, we have a motion and a second, and I'll call for the vote.
Motion carries 4 votes aye, 1 vote nay.
All right. Next, Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Item number 4 is approval of resolution number 2022-05-TEDC. This is approval of a economic development performance agreement between the EDC and Decatur Professional Development LLC. This is under our rental incentive program. Decatur Professional Development was established in 2003. They're currently located on Cypress Creek Parkway. They will be bringing 7 jobs over with their relocation. And they provide continuing education for professional licensed engineers. So webinars, online training, in-person training, those types of things. They will be occupying about 800 square feet within the Bank of America building at 1431 Graham Drive. The rental assistance program provides up to 25% of the base monthly rent paid after the first year of operation, with confirmation from the landlord that all rents have been paid. The amount is $6,600. That's based on a base monthly rent of $2,200 per month.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve on first reading, resolution 2022-05 TEDC.
Motion. Second.
Questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Call for the vote.
Voting's not open. Give that. She decided her job was not want to figure it out real quick.
This is dangerous, Joe.
I know.
Very, there's no telling.
We do want to use
Can
this.
we do a
system.
verbal vote?
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Just go ahead and vote how you think everybody's going to do. That'll be a surprise.
I'll make you up when I'm done, sir.
I'm
gonna turn this thing off, so switch to voting or go?
I have no idea.
Can I just say all in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Motion carried. All right, yeah, good job, Joe. You sped us along.
You scared us enough. Joe.
All right, next is executive session. The city council meeting executive session is authorized by Title 5, Chapter 551, Government Code, Texas Open Meetings Act for the following purposes. Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding a matter that the attorney's duty requires be discussed in closed session. It is 7:05 and we are going into executive.
No
session.
action to be taken when we get back, right?
No action is this.
I'll let them turn it off.
Okay, you got another one. You have a-
And they never come back home.
She didn't, that's probably why she took off.
Oh,
Was to get your form. Tomorrow is pretty much booked. Wednesday in the morning. Is open, well. Wednesday afternoon, maybe. I know I've got a meeting. Just don't know for sure what time. Because I don't have my calendar up in here. Did you get the executive? Did you get the executive session? Okay.
You let me know, I'm free all day till 6 at night.
The only day I know for sure that I don't have anything scheduled was Friday. Yes. I know I have a staff meeting in the morning. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon around 2 o'clock. Should be open. Tomorrow. Yeah, around 2 o'clock should be open. Wednesday is, Tracy, what time is that rodeo, trail rider meeting Wednesday? Wednesday at 9. 9, okay, so Wednesday afternoon. Yeah. 1 or 2. Okay.
And then once they vote, and I'll close it and they'll show me who voted.
Right.
So everybody voted yay. Yeah, everybody voted yay.
Everybody voted yes.
And then you just go here, look. You go here to insert the vote. and you save it. Total drop it. And then you save it. And then move over here. Sorry, I try to be as fast as I can. But the printer didn't print fast enough. I was like, Kelly talk slow. Thank you. I know.
And she goes,
I was like, oh my God, I'm like, poor Joe, I set him up.
Yeah, I'll put it.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
they booted me out until. they called in for-
Okay, do you want to take everything down and just put their votes in for,
Yeah.
because it's just, there's no action. Yeah, it's just.
Face. Sorry. Would have been.
Old
you have-
school baton style.
Yeah. I'm from New York, don't forget that. I get a little rowdy.
Yeah, there's no action when they come back.
Okay.
Huh?
No, that's it. I don't.
No, when they
Let the record show it is 7:55 and we're back from executive session. I will entertain a meeting to adjourn.
Meeting to adjourn, how about a motion?
I don't know what I said. What is-
You said meeting to adjourn, I said a motion, I'll motion
Perfect. Somebody want to second it?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
it. Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting